Hey, we're exhuming the X-Files here on Outpost Unknown each Friday night. Thank you for joining us. Hey, beam up and probe that like and subscribe button. My name is Matthew. He's Jeremy.
Hey guys.
And tonight we are headed to the great town of Townsend, Wisconsin on a tip from Deep Throat to check out a crashed UFO. So we are back into alien territory. That's kind of like the X-Files comfort zone, right? It's like, okay, if we had a down episode last week, space ghosts, whatever those things were, we still don't know. Let's just bring it back. Let's get the audience back on our side and talk about Fallen Angel, directed by Larry Shaw and written by Howard Gordon and Alex Ganza. And of course, Howard Gordon and Alex Ganza, they had previously done Conduit, which we pretty much liked, I think. Then they also did Ghost in the Machine, which we kind of didn't like. So there are a couple mediocre episodes from them, but now we're getting to Fallen Angel, and we're going to see how they do on this. So, Jeremy, give us the rundown on Fallen Angel.
Well, I'm just going to say this one up front. I am biased towards this one quite a bit because this is the episode that sealed the deal for me when it came to X-Files. There was a lot of good episodes before this, and I was watching every Friday just like everybody else that I knew back then. But this one was the one that I'm never going to miss another episode of X-Files.
Okay.
So the way that it starts is we have some cop driving some back roads. He sees some flames shooting off in the distance through the woods. He goes investigates. They do this beautiful little Evil Dead nod towards this whatever attacking this cop, which when he finally does get attacked, it was kind of weak. But anyway, it goes into the government detecting this at the Cheyenne Mountain. What do they call it? We have a facility at Cheyenne Mountain.
I don't remember what they call it, but yeah.
But the set looked beautiful, by the way. But they detect this UFO crashing in Wisconsin or Minnesota or something, and they're like, nope, you didn't see that. It's just a weather balloon and some meteorite stuff.
And I love the girl who's at the monitor. She's like, sir, you got your orders. Shut up. It's just a crashed meteorite.
And then that guy apparently is in charge of what seems to be a hot button item nowadays in our news is the crash retrieval program that the United States government has. It's his job to coordinate us chasing down a UFO crash, covering it up, making sure that everything gets picked up and swept out of there like nothing ever happened. And that's what happened. Mulder gets word that we have a downed UFO. He goes to investigate, and it leads into the rest of the episode.
Yeah, and Deep Throat's, what's interesting about this one is Deep Throat's the one that tells him about this, because Mulder has no idea, and the colonel or whoever that military guy is at the very beginning, he's like, hey, we got a fallen angel, and I guess that's code now for US. Hey, a UFO has crashed, right? A fallen angel from the sky. And I'm with you. I really like this episode quite a bit. I will let you sort of talk about the things that you like first before I sort of get into the things that I enjoy, which primarily revolve around Max, because I love the character of Max Fenig.
Well, you talked about Deep Throat sending him away from DC, which I found weird. He was super forthcoming with it. Like, I need to get rid of Mulder right now, and this is a great way to do so. Which
he's like, you got 24 hours to go find whatever you need to find in that forest. Otherwise, everything will be gone. It'll be like it never happened. And Mulder does not take Scully. He doesn't even tell Scully that he's going. He just leaves.
He gets out there. The military is everywhere, and I did kind of like that part of it. Is it was somewhat accurate as far as quarantine procedures go. Like, they made the citizens of the local town leave. They had a decent cover story as to why they were making them leave, but you had just your normal ragtag National Guard military that was setting up a perimeter around what they were dealing with. But the people that actually went in to do the recovery part of it, like the normal soldiers, couldn't get anywhere near it. They were just, drawing basically a huge circle around this UFO crash, not knowing what they were protecting, but their job was just to keep people out. And they were fed shit.
Got those weird lasers, those like red lasers around it. I was like, wait, that's not a thing. Like, right? That's not a
I,
thing that we would have, but it looked cool, I guess.
but I don't know that we have strict laser fences like that, but like we have a lot of, and we have had a lot of motion detecting stuff that we could like. You can't
Yeah.
get close to Area 51 still without somebody knowing that you're heading that way miles before you get to anywhere secure. And that's because of all sorts of things in the ground for motion detecting, lasers, radar, all sorts of stuff are out there. So there was some feasibility. It looked neat, and I think that's probably why it was there
Oh
because the
yeah,
video effect looked cool.
looked
But
awesome.
they wanted to make sure that none of the aliens, if there were any survivors, got out. So they set up a perimeter of a laser fence all the way around it and put guards or normal soldiers around there, and then they had special soldiers that were just in the inner perimeter that were responsible for crash recovery and tracking this alien down. So I did like that part of it because there was just some attention to detail.
Sure.
After that, Mulder gets busted because he's great at hiding and breaking into a perimeter, but hanging out with the camera a few feet away, like just
He gets
he
a
ends
little
up getting
overexcited.
he gets knocked the fuck out, and then he wakes up in a cell next to the most likable nerd I've met
Oh,
in this series so far.
I love this character. This character feels like, if 12-year-old Matthew, whatever, I'm looking, I was like, oh man, David Duchovny, like Mulder, he's so cool. But I'm like, dude, I'm nowhere in this guy's category, in terms of looks, coolness, whatever. I can't strive to be him, but I can strive to be Max Fenig. That's kind of who I would be if I were like an adult in this situation. And Max Fenig has this. He's this guy. He's with NICAP, who is one of these UFO sort of tracking organizations and things of that nature. And we find that out throughout the course of the episode. But he has this awesome. He has so many great lines in this, and he already knows who like Mulder is. Mulder doesn't even like realize that he knows at this point in time. But while they're in like I don't know, that's kind of like the jail, I guess, the sort of makeshift military jail. Um, so he's talking to Mulder, and Mulder is just kind of looking at him as like, well, what makes you so sure there's something out there? Kind of like almost trying to dismiss Max. And Max just looks at him and he's like, the same thing that makes you so sure. And I'm like, perfect fucking line. Perfect fucking line. Because it's like, this is exactly like Max knows that Mulder knows what all's going on for real, and that's such a great way to connect those two characters together immediately.
But it did definitely seem like Mulder did not want to put up with any of this guy's bullshit. Like he is a
Oh yeah.
nerd through and through. And
Yes.
back in the day, if you would have imagined what a NICAP guy or a MUFON guy would have looked and
Yeah.
acted like, this is probably the guy that would come to your mind. So Mulder's just
Yeah.
like, you've no legitimacy and there's no value to even acknowledging you exist. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to pretend you're not even here.
Well, he also just got hit in the head with the butt of a rifle. He's probably got a pretty wicked headache right now and doesn't want to deal with
Sure.
it.
So
he,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say that there's also that great scene where Max is kind of Max. Essentially, Max gets let out, and Scully shows up, right, and has to bail Mulder out of this thing. But the backstory here is that Mulder's in deep shit. He crossed too many lines, and he's got to get back to Washington D.C. for a hearing on whether or not he's going to be able to keep his job or not. And Mulder's just like, hey, we're gonna stick around and keep investigating. I got 18 hours. Screw it. And Scully's trying to get him back, but they get back to Mulder's hotel room and they find that Max is in there, snooping around. And I
Did you
love. Oh, sorry.
did
Go
you
ahead.
notice that when they busted into that? I've noticed this over and over and over again, and I'm sure this is going to be a repeating theme. But Dana drew her gun first
Yes.
when they go
Yes.
into that room.
I noticed that. I look for that now because ever since you said that in whatever's episode 1 or 2 that we did, I now automatically like who draws their gun first, and you're absolutely right. It's Scully draws her gun first, which is cool. It's just a nice little thing that I think most people probably would have overlooked. I certainly did. So it's just cool to have that. But Mulder's, they got him on the bed. They're like, Max, what the hell are you all about? Whatever. And Max points out, he's like, look, man, I read your article in Omni magazine, and like Scully's looking at Mulder like, you wrote an article in Omni about the Gulf Breeze sightings, and this is cool because it's very nostalgic for me because I remember talking to you about this stuff when we were in high school, like Gulf Breeze sightings and
Yeah.
sharing like information back and forth. And then you watch this show as a kid and you're seeing the writers put all these things in that you as a kid were like looking into, and it just feels like you're in some special club. Like this show was made for us. Like
Yep.
we know about the Gulf Breeze sightings. Oh, Max knows. And then we find out that Fox has a pseudonym, and Max is like, oh well, you didn't think that was going to fool us, did you? And Mulder has this great line. He's like, I didn't think anyone was paying attention. And then Max goes, someone's always paying attention, Mr. Mulder, which I thought was another great line. It goes back to sort of like the paranoia of this whole sort of alien stuff and the conspiracies. Like somebody's always watching, even when you think they're not. Loved it. Loved it.
Did you notice that Max dresses like Marty McFly?
Yeah. I did. Yeah, I did. I noticed that. It's good homage. Good callback. I'm fine with it.
So they get to talking to this kid, and he has a trailer right outside of Fox Mulder's room. And they go into there because he's got some recorded stuff on this really high end like NSA radio that he's got. And they open the door of this, like, what do they used to call those? Twinkies? I can't remember what the mobile homes were, but they were the smooth like
Oh,
aluminum
yeah.
shell on the outside. He has got the coolest
Yeah.
fucking trailer ever. Like every square inch is some sort of UFO nerdy shit or some piece of tech. A news article, a globe hanging from the ceiling. Like it's lonely in that. Like you don't bring a girl in that sort of trailer, but as long as that wasn't on the line, that would be a really cool
Hey,
place to
man,
live.
depends on if the girl's really into UFOs or not. If
If
she
she's
is, she's going to be really impressed with that trailer.
that girl, though, yeesh.
What's interesting about this, now that I kind of think about it, is Max seems kind of like a proto precursor to like the lone gunman that will appear later on. I don't know when the lone gunmen actually show up in this show. I don't remember. But he feels like he would have slotted right in with them.
Sure. Like he would have been on a first name basis with all three of those guys, for
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Okay, so they go out and they start doing stuff again, and then we jump back to these special op guys that showed up early in the episode during the quarantine that are just seem to be specifically tasked with tracking down this alien that escaped the laser fence.
It's
He was
very
part of this.
Predator too.
Sure.
A
Yeah,
lot of Predator
invisible,
stuff.
can't see. So they go they go to a parking garage. Um, it's funny that none of them have the same gun. Like one guy's got a Mac 10 that looks like it was taken from a Compton gangster movie. Another guy's got an MP5 that you would expect in a SWAT team's member's hand. Two guys are walking next to each other. One's got a Glock, the other one's got a Beretta. Like none of the guns are even close to the same. And I don't think I would put any of these guns in special ops hands to go track down an extremely hostile alien that bakes people with radiation. Like just woefully inadequate firepower.
One thing I hate, and X Files does this in many episodes throughout this season and even in the later seasons, I hate that slow motion that they do where it's like that jittery frame rate. It's not like a smooth slow motion. It's like that just strange. Hey, we shot this at like 24 frames per second, but we're dropping it to like 12, so it's not smooth, and it just sort of like bounces in really stuttery towards people. I hate it, and they do that in this episode. It drives me crazy. It looks ugly. They should never ever do that in films. or TV shows ever.
Mulder and Scully, they go to the people that were evacuated from the town, the gym that they're all sleeping in. They end up meeting the original cop, the wife and the kid of the original cop that died at the very beginning of the episode, to try to figure out, what do you know about what happened to him? She's freaked out. She's like, I got approached by some men that said if I opened my mouth about any of this, they would pull my husband's pension and blah. So I'm not talking to you. So they go down to the hospital to talk to the doctor that treated the cop, the initial firefighters that showed up and basically all got baked by this alien. I don't know if you noticed that the ER doctor's name, Dr. Oppenheim.
I did not notice that. No.
Yeah, I like the doctor, but the name, come on.
Okay, that's a little too on the nose.
They talk to him for a little bit, and he's not coughing up any information because the same people that threaten that wife is the same people that threaten him. But all of a sudden, all of these special forces guys that were woefully under-equipped to take out an alien are getting rushed into this ER, and they are covered head to toe in just burns.
Yeah, yeah, they are toasted. I thought the makeup looked pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean their clothes were still on, so why was their clothes not burnt? But anyway, I don't want to see any naked.
The radiation doesn't burn the clothes, clearly.
Sure. Scully stays to try to help because she's a medical doctor, and also because she's going to kind of get a clue. Then Fox ends up jumping to this. He goes back to talk to Max for some reason. It's not quite clear, other than it's one of those things in these episodes, just like Space, where we need something happen to drive the plot forward. So he just shows up.
What else can Fox do at that point? Like, because I can totally see that as a criticism. Is like, why would he go back to talk to Max? But I would argue that Max would be the only one he could talk to that may even possibly have information about what's going on. So I think it's plausible that he would go back and talk to Max. And speaking of Max, I forgot to mention one thing that I really love that they did in the background of that first time that they entered in. Well, when Fox and Max walk in and Scully comes in behind him, Scully notices in that opening scene in the trailer that Max is on some like antipsychotic medications. But in the background, Max, he's like, "Hey, I got something to show you," and he's like, "Look at these crop circles," and he goes into all this nerdy detail about these crop circles. He's like, real or fake, and Mulder's like, "Fake," and Max is like, "How can you tell?" And then Mulder just rolls off all these facts about, this is bogus. Like, dude, you got something to show me? Show me. I love that little attention to detail of Max so nerding out around Mulder that he forgets the entire reason that he took him in there in the first place. Yeah, I love that.
He just wants to impress him because he knows that he's super legit. Yeah, that was cute. So he goes back.
I'm sorry. I was going to say it's also cool that it sort of establishes that there are tons of people out there that look up to Mulder, and he has no idea. Like, he's got an entire support system of people out there that know who he is and believe in what he's doing and what his mission is. And I think that's a cool concept that they play with here also.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So he goes back to the trailer to go visit Max and finds that Max is having a really bad seizure on the floor of his trailer. So gets him up, gets him to bed, and then jumps to the conclusion that he's an abductee because of the seizure. And then for some reason does he look behind his ear?
Yeah, he's got, when Max lays down, Mulder sees he's got that weird like V-shaped like bump on like right behind his ear. And of course, Mulder has X-Files of people that have that exact same thing that were abductees. And even later on when he tells Scully is like so pissed off by this point because she just wants to get the hell out because she's like, "You're gonna get fired." She literally tells him there will be no more X-Files if you don't get your head out of your ass and get back to Washington D.C. because if you miss this thing, you're done." And Mulder is like, "Can you look at this though for me? Can you give me your medical opinion?" And yeah, so that and Scully's like, "Are you telling me Max is an abductee?" Just the way she says it with such disdain in her voice, like, "Come on, man, come on."
Yeah. Just
But of
stop
course, he's right.
grasping at straws.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
yeah. So, uh, I can't even remember what happened after that because he jumps to that conclusion. He goes to meet Scully in like right across the parking lot after she'd pulled an all nighter helping out with this. Like, hey, you need to come back with me, Mulder. We have to leave right now. It's like, all right, well, I'll go with you. Just take a look at this guy
yeah.
real quick because
He ditches
you'll,
her. Remember?
yeah.
I'll go back, and he gets in the car and drives off.
Wait, I don't remember this.
You don't remember that? Because
No,
remember, like he's trying to, or am I getting this mixed up with a different episode? I'm pretty sure he gets in the car because he's like, just give me your honest medical opinion, and once you let me know, I'll get ready and I'll leave. And then he gets in the car and then drives off, and that's when she turns and realizes, and he leaves. What am I?
no. They go to the trailer and he's gone already. Like he got put to bed and then he walks over to his room.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Billy
what
comes
what
in.
Mulder does.
Oh no. Then they go back to the trailer. He's
Okay.
gone. And then there just conveniently there's a radio broadcast inside the trailer saying that something is happening
Okay.
out at the shoreline. Doesn't like there's a break in or was it trespassing this building over at the shoreline blah 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 blah.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
they jump to the conclusion that it's this kid that they're looking for, this Max guy.
Yeah,
So
but I
they go
think
out.
but I think
Go ahead.
Mulder does drive away and leave Scully there because Mulder's at that building with Max by himself, and then
No,
Scully
no.
shows up, doesn't he? Is she?
They're with each other for a second, and then for some reason Scully walks out of the building. I do have that note that they're all three together for just a second, and then Scully stands up and walks out of the building and gets basically arrested by the soldiers that are out there. And it's never really clear why she does it, but she walks out, surrenders herself, and then the heat signature guy is like the infrared camera dude is looking in the
Yeah,
building is like, there's only two guys in there. Nope, there's three. And then or they have this drawn out thing where the soldiers are going to bust in and get this alien, get Max, get Mulder out, but then the scene that sealed it for me. There's a UFO that's hovering over this place. You don't see it. They just allude to it. They go back to Cheyenne Mountain briefly and say, there's a meteor hovering over this town. They do this great scene where Max is floating off the ground, levitating in the center of this warehouse. And he's shaking. And I remember just being, or as a kid, just being like, this is the fucking coolest shit ever. Like
yeah,
the
it's
only
pretty
thing
cool.
I had seen previous to that was Fire in the Sky, and this is like that scene where he gets blasted at the beginning right
Yeah,
before he gets abducted. Like it was awesome, and then he just vanishes, and then or the whatever infrared guy's like, oh, there's only one guy inside of the building, so they blow
yeah,
the door with C4 that could have, when you stick C4 on a door, it does destroy the door. It's very, very loud, but it's meant to turn that door into shrapnel and like hurt anything that's in the way on the inside. It's what we use. It's called a breach charge. They did that to the outside of the warehouse just so they could charge in. Like, are they going to hurt this alien? Or are they going to hurt the abductee? Are they going to kill
yeah.
Fox on the way in? Like,
Well, I was like, why did they just enter the door that Scully walked out
right?
of?
No, because they had a small C4 budget, and by
Yeah,
God, they were going to use it.
yes, production value. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. That sequence is awesome, and it still holds up to this day. I think the effect looks cool. I love sort of Mulder's reaction. What I don't like, and what I'll say is like this is clearly them writing themselves into a corner and having to just sort of roll with it, is when Mulder is in there with Max. The alien comes in, and every previous time the alien has done its little radiation attack, it's burned everybody to a crisp. Why Mulder is not injured whatsoever? Literally, like, this alien does the radiation thing, and you see Mulder fly in that awful slow motion, like over some boxes. He's perfectly fine. He's not burned. He's not anything. That's the only thing that kind of annoys me about it. I wish they would have done some other way to get Mulder out of the way, because it's like, well, why is Mulder unharmed when everybody else, had their flesh burned off? But I'll get over it because it's still a cool sequence when Max is up there and all we see is his hat, nightcap hat. And Mulder's like, "You're too late, Colonel. We lost. Get him out of my sight." Love it. It's a great ending.
It is. Well, sort of. If the episode would have just ended after that, but no, we have to resolve what happens to Mulder
Yeah.
now that he has gone so far out of his way to violate policy and protocol. So they go back to Washington, D.C. There's this scene where Scully gives her, well, just answers the questions that they asked instead of giving actual testimony.
She tries,
And
they won't let her.
yeah, they're just like, shut up, Scully. This is our chance. We can get this son of a bitch out of here. Just shut up. They send her out and they bring Mulder in. And these are the times that I kind of cringe. When I'm watching Mulder talk about all of the different things, like yelling at him, was like, it was clearly an abduction and blah, 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 blah. It's like, these are just fucking higher up nerds that are within the FBI. They don't know anything that you've seen. They are not the guys that are up there with Deep Throat and above that actually have this knowledge. And some part of Mulder has to know that. Yeah, he's just raving like a lunatic.
No government agency has jurisdiction over the truth. You tell him, Mulder. You tell him. Well, he's got to rant on somebody. He's about to lose his job. He might as well yell as much as he can before he goes out the door.
I mean, if you're gonna give a parting shot, just don't sound like you're a fucking nutter. Just a really mad Max from Nightcap is what he sounded like.
I do like that the show finally, at some point, someone was like, we have to address the fact that he never gets in trouble for anything. We have to. And this was the episode where, like, we're just going to address it now so we don't ever have to address it in the future. Because at the end of this, it's clear, like, yeah, he's going to get fired. And then one of the guys in the rooms runs up to Deep Throat and is like, why didn't you let us do it? And we find out that Deep Throat has gone over their heads and has saved Mulder from getting fired. And so from this point forward, we just kind of assume, well, Deep Throat's there to save him. And later on, X will be there to save and protect him when he gets in too much danger or of getting, booted.
It is worthy of note that Deep Throat, when he was talking to that guy, did acknowledge that he refers to Mulder as the enemy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first time that he does it, and letting the audience know that, no, Deep Throat is not on his side now and never has been.
Yeah.
But this is a measure of control.
Yeah, he says, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. So, I mean, that's what he literally says about Mulder. So, and again, like, Deep Throat has come across before this as this just nice old grandpa kind of guy who's just trying to help out and throw Mulder a bone here and then. We don't know his motivations really yet at this point, but now you kind of throw that wrench in it. It's like, should we trust this guy? And interestingly enough, the first character who ever says trust no one in the X-Files is Max Fenig. Because in that initial thing when Mulder's not talking to him and Max is like, oh, okay, I see how you are. Trust no one. You're a trust no one kind of guy. I got you. And I thought that was kind of cool as well, that Max was the originator of that amongst the characters saying it in the series. But Yeah, I mean, I love this episode. I thought it was cool. I still enjoyed it to this day upon a rewatch. I like when we go back
Good.
to this sort of alien mythology stuff and the greater sort of conspiracy. That always sort of like hits me in the right spot. A couple things that I did notice: the guy who plays the Colonel, I don't know if you recognize him. He's Marshall Bell. That's the name of the actor. Very kind of noteworthy character actor. He's the dude who had Kawato in his chest in Total
Yeah,
Recall. So he's super cool. And he comes across as a hard ass. Like he's this is how I assume, having not been in the military, a military person would act. That's just what it seems like to me. Like, all right, he seems like that hard ass kind of guy that's like it's my way or the highway sort of thing.
sure.
I do like Mulder's always taking pictures and they're always getting taken away and destroyed. This is a recurring theme throughout all of this stuff. I did like the lady who was the wife of the cop who dies at the very beginning. I thought she acted pretty well in this and, really conveyed how terrified she was. I like the line where she's like, I can't afford the truth because they won't release his body to her. And that's a pretty shitty thing. And Scully's like, the government they have to be able to do that. And she's like, I can't afford the truth. Don't talk to me. So yeah, I love this episode. Your thoughts?
Or again, it's the one that got me on board. I had always been into aliens and abductions in particular. Uh, Watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind really ruined me at a very, very young age. And this was the first one where we got very, very close to something happening with the abduction. We came into contact with an alien. Uh, I ate it up. I still love this episode.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Certainly worth a watch. And good that we've bounced back from the low that was space. Now we get to Fallen Angel, which we both thoroughly enjoyed. Now next week, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to episode 11. This is we're going to talk about Mulder and Scully finding themselves embroiled in eugenics and cloning. That sounds interesting. Check back next Friday for our thoughts on the next episode, Eve. See you then.